tifu by spending 6 years in a dimly lit bedroom due to peak idiocy. Our bedroom ceiling fan came with one of those small halogen light bulbs. About 6 years ago, it burned out and became super weak, barely emitting any light. I bought a replacement bulb, but when I installed it, the light was still incredibly dim. I just assumed the whole lighting unit was faulty. The fan itself, however, was fantastic. Seriously, the best fan I've ever owned, moved air like crazy and was whisper quiet. It was also a housewarming gift and apparently cost a small fortune, so replacing the entire unit just for the light felt excessive, even though our bedroom doesn't get much natural light and is generally quite dark. So, for the next 6 years, my wife and I just dealt with it. We'd open the curtains during the day and rely on bedside lamps and the bathroom light at night. It was never as bright or convenient as an overhead light, so we kept flashlights handy for cleaning or when we needed to find something in the gloom. After 6 long years of living in semi-darkness, I finally decided enough was enough and I was going to replace the entire fan unit. But before I went through with it, I thought I'd try one last bulb. I figured, however unlikely, it was remotely possible that both replacement bulbs I tried were duds. So, there I am, on a ladder, installing yet another new bulb. I grab the remote for the fan. Yes, it has a remote. And as I'm about to turn the light on, it hits me. This thing is dimmable for 6 freaking years. We put up with terrible lighting, fumbling around in the dark, all because the light was just set to the lowest dim setting the entire time. I'm not a smart man. 6 years in the dark because of a dimmable light? That's not a tifu, that's a tily. Today I lived idiotically. If you can relate, hit that like button and subscribe for more bright ideas, or maybe not so bright. Tifu by being exposed as a creep, and trust me, I earned this. This is the now ex-wife of the guy who posted earlier. Apparently, it didn't occur to him, or maybe he's just too oblivious to remember that we share absolutely everything, including the same Reddit app on our phones. Imagine my surprise when I opened Reddit and found his throwaway account as the default login. I've removed the specific details of his original story to protect my family's privacy and have changed the password for this account, though it might be too late as who knows where his original post has already spread online. I scrolled through the comments on his post and was honestly disgusted by the number of responses suggesting he should have sexually harassed both of us last night. My sister did mention he tried something inappropriate in the middle of the night, so this guy is clearly living in a completely delusional world. I'm posting this just to reassure everyone who thought he might get away with his actions. People like him absolutely do not. I came home with my sister yesterday to pack my belongings. I saw his update saying I seemed fine, but I was just holding it together until the morning. The reason we slept in the living room was definitely not for some fun camping or a picnic, as he put it. It was because I didn't want him to see my packed bags in the bedroom corner when he unexpectedly came home early. This morning, before he even woke up, we grabbed the rest of my things and left. First thing I did was go to the bank and freeze our joint account before he could start making irresponsible withdrawals. I am done with him. I'm lawyering up, giving away all the Reddit gold I received to the comments that were actually supportive and reasonable, and starting the divorce process immediately. Oh, and if you happen to be reading this, just know that I've deleted that tracking app you installed. My lawyer will be in touch to arrange the unfreezing of your share of the account and to ensure you remove any other tracking apps you might have secretly put on my devices. Tifu when Jimmy Kimmel revealed my Reddit history on live television. This actually happened to me yesterday and I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. It all began when I posted a side-by-side picture of a dog that bore an uncanny resemblance to the actor William H. Macy. I thought it was hilarious, but I honestly never expected it to get much traction. To my absolute shock, it somehow made it to the front page and racked up way more upvotes than I could have ever imagined. Just that alone was surreal because I'd never had a post reach the front page before. The next morning I woke up to my phone buzzing non-stop. My Reddit inbox was flooded with YouTube links. Curious, I started clicking on them and discovered my post was featured on the latest episode of Jimmy Kimmel Live with Reddit co-founder Alexis Ohanian as a guest. I was completely stunned. They were discussing Reddit trends and Jimmy ended up pulling up my profile and browsing through my history. Now I don't usually post anything too wild, but I had commented on a NSFW Tifu thread a few days prior. I think from the quick glance he took, Jimmy mistakenly thought that NSFW post was actually something I had submitted myself. And to top it off, they even showed my username on screen. He made a comment that implied my history was full of filthy stuff, which was pretty embarrassing, and now I'm getting a flood of really strange messages. I'm not sure if this exactly qualifies as a full-blown tifu, but on one hand it definitely felt like one when he jokingly exposed my history like that. On the other hand, it's also a pretty wild and funny story to tell. Either way, I can't say I regret it. Jimmy Kimmel just casually nuked your Reddit privacy, front page fame and public shaming in one go. Legendary TIFU. Tifu, anti-vax joke fail at the pediatrician. This happened a few months ago, and I still cringe when I think about it. My son is autistic, level 1, previously Asperger's, and sees a psychiatrist, psychologist, and other doctors. Last summer we switched to a new primary care physician to better coordinate his care. I took him for a routine checkup and spent almost an hour with her, discussing his medical history, medications, and everything. Towards the end of the appointment she said, "Well, he can get the Gardasil vaccine today," and I, in what I thought was a clearly sarcastic moment, replied, "Oh no, he can't have that. I don't want him to get autism." I should probably mention here that I'm also on the spectrum myself, and while I thought my sarcasm was crystal clear, I must have looked way too serious because she just stared at me blankly. The silence stretched on forever, as I could practically see her brain trying to process what I just said and how to react. Finally, I burst out laughing and tried to explain I was just kidding, but she only gave a weak, nervous chuckle and quickly excused herself from the room. As my son and I were debating whether my joke was actually funny, the nurse walked in carrying a thick stack of pamphlets and information sheets about vaccines. He launched into a full-blown lecture about vaccine safety, potential risks, and the importance of immunization. No matter how much I tried to assure him that we were absolutely not anti-vax and it was just a bad joke, he wouldn't stop. He just kept repeating, "Okay, well, I still need to tell you this," in a tone that made it very clear the doctor had instructed him to give me the talk. The funny part is, we actually went ahead and got the Gardasil vaccine that day, and I have to give major props to Nurse Pete, who was amazingly the first nurse to ever administer a shot to my son without any tears or wrestling matches. Nurse Pete is a legend. Oof, that silence from the doctor must have been deafening, but props to Nurse Pete for saving the day. Was the joke too far or just a misunderstanding? Let me know what you think in the comments. Tifu by pretending to be deaf for 3 months and now it's a dating problem. So, about 3 months ago when quarantine started, I signed up for some online courses. These weren't for my regular school, and I didn't know anyone in the class. There were maybe 10 other students and the teacher was actually pretty good. The first couple of days went fine, but on the third day, I screwed up big time. We were in the middle of a physics class, which had already been going for an hour, and I'd completely lost focus halfway through. My attention span is practically non-existent, and I was already mentally checked out. When the teacher called my name to answer a question, I realized I had absolutely no idea what he'd been talking about. Panicking, I tried to Google the answer real quick, but my internet is terrible and the page was taking forever to load. The teacher was getting annoyed about why I wasn't responding and why I was typing. Completely freaking out, I typed a message in the Google Meet chat, making up an excuse that my laptop's audio and microphone weren't working that day, and I've been relying on subtitles, which were slow, so I hadn't caught his question. In my immense panic, I phrased it really vaguely and said something like, "I can't actually hear, I've been reading the subtitles. They take quite some time to load." To which the instructor replied, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I wasn't aware that you are deaf." And in my absolute sheer panic and anxiety, I just went along with it. Stupidest decision of my life. But it actually kinda worked out. I'd type out answers sent to me, and I even bought a hearing aid that I'd sometimes wear in class. I say sometimes because I honestly don't have the focus to remember to put it on every single class. When anyone asked, I just say that even with the hearing aid, I couldn't hear much, so I usually didn't bother. And they bought it. Everyone in class seemed to like me more too, finding me really endearing. There's this girl, Carla, who actually said I have the most beautiful smile she's ever seen, though. So yeah, things were going surprisingly well for me, but like most of my ridiculous schemes, this one backfired on me spectacularly. When I made this godforsaken decision, I was positive I'd get away with it. We were never going to meet in real life. However, about a week ago, the instructor decided to organize an in-person meetup since the lockdown in my country had been lifted. I spent the entire night before watching videos of deaf people and trying to figure out how to behave. I even considered pretending to be completely mute so I wouldn't have to try and mimic deaf speech, which seemed way too hard. So anyway, we meet up and everything goes relatively smoothly. No one uncovers my secret or anything. I spend the whole meetup with Carla, who is even more stunning in person than on video. She's smart, funny, kind, everything I could ever want. We're passing notes back and forth on napkins and it's honestly the cutest thing ever. I've never been this attracted to anyone in my entire life. But then towards the end of the meetup, Carla hands me a napkin with one little heart-stopping sentence on it. "Will you go on a date with me?" Fuck. Panicking internally, I told her I needed some time to think about it, and thankfully she was cool with that. I'm supposed to meet up with her tomorrow. I absolutely cannot pretend to be deaf and mute while actually dating her. It's just impossible. But if I confess the truth, I risk losing her completely, and I really don't want to do that either. There's also the nuclear option where I just come completely clean and tell her it was all a ridiculous act. Best case scenario is extreme embarrassment plus amazing girlfriend, and worst case scenario is she thinks I'm a complete idiot and I lose her anyway. She just texted me to confirm what time to pick her up. The date is actually tonight, not tomorrow, so I have way less time to make this decision than I originally thought. I'm basically a walking disaster. Anyway, I'll post an update in about 6 to 7 hours, which is when I'll be meeting her. Update. Okay, this is the update you've all been waiting for. I just got back from the date with Carla. So basically, I prepared really hard for this. Googled what the appropriate flowers are for apologizing for massive lies, and got her white orchids. I then put on my best clothes and headed out, praying for a miracle. She arrived at the date with a cute little notepad and 2 pencils for us to write notes in, which honestly melted my heart instantly. But I was so anxious and nervous that at first I couldn't bring myself to tell her the truth. But as we sat waiting for our order to arrive, the guilt just kinda snapped inside me, and I scribbled down in the notebook, "Hey, there's no easy way to break this to you, but I'm not actually deaf, or mute." To which she replied without missing a beat, "I know you're not deaf, but you are pretty dumb." At which point I think I actually said, "What the fuck?" out loud, forgetting myself completely. She then laughed and explained that she thought I was cute and had Googled me a while ago, finding my Instagram, which has highlighted stories from concerts where I'm clearly singing and dancing and vibing to the music. So she actually asked me out partly to figure out how long I keep up the ridiculous act. Turns out she was playing me the whole time. I was feeling pretty bummed that her initial interest was partially based on that, but nevertheless I apologized profusely and showed her my Reddit post to explain myself fully. Best move ever. Seriously, thank you so much to everyone in the comments who suggested this. She found the post hilarious and adorable. I told her I completely understand if she wanted to end the date right then and there, but she didn't. We actually had an amazing time, and while we're not officially dating yet, we did set a second date for next Wednesday. She also told me that while she understands why I did what I did, and that social anxiety is genuinely tough, she also believes that the whole hearing aid thing was a little insensitive. She explained to me why that was so inappropriate, and I'd like to apologize to anyone I might have offended here. It really wasn't my intention. Also, for our second date, we're planning to volunteer at a center for deaf children, so I can hopefully redeem myself a little bit. Thank you, Reddit. You might have just gotten me a girlfriend. Pretending to be deaf for 3 months, that's dedication to a TIFU, but Carla outplayed him at his own game. If you enjoyed this plot twist as much as we did, hit that subscribe button for more unbelievable stories. What's your wildest tifu moment? Share in the comments and have a great rest of your day.